Back in the 1940s, actually in the 30s, when storm clouds were gathering all over the world, including Japan and the Middle East and everywhere, but especially in Europe, one of the greatest writers of all time, J.R.R. Tolkien, decided to write an epic about the essence of good versus evil. Obviously, it was called Lord of the Rings. And the first words in Lord of the Rings are, "The world is changing." And the world is changing, and we're all living through it right at this moment. If you know anything about the Lord of the Rings, you know it's a story of desperate struggle against overwhelming odds, about the onrush of evil that seems unstoppable, about hope being vested in the smallest and weakest of us, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil for the sake of goodness. And that's exactly what we're watching right now. At the end of Lord of the Rings, the Dark Tower, where the evil Sauron ruled his evil kingdom, collapses into dust. And we're watching the left's 50 or 60-year hold on this amazing country collapse into dust in front of our eyes. The Black Tower has fallen, and it's not coming back. The world is changing. The nightmare of the left-wing narrative is coming to an end. How many times have we heard that word narrative? The narrative, the narrative, the narrative. Well, let me tell you what the narrative is. The narrative is a tale told by a diverse and inclusive central committee of idiots full of sound and fury signifying nothing. The left-wing narrative is not a story. It's an anti-story. The left-wing narrative is not about anything. It's about opposing anything and everything. The left-wing narrative is the negative space in a painting. The left-wing narrative is darkness. There's no such thing as darkness. There's only the absence of light. It is an anti-thing. It doesn't actually exist without the active cooperation of the people who it's trying to enslave. And it is finished. I didn't think I'd live to see it. The narrative celebrates cowardice over human heroism. It celebrates the faceless state over the human individual. It elevates a person's unlimited access to drunkenness and sloth and gluttony, lust, avarice, all of the sins. And it does that at the price over disdain for good, honest work and even the lives of unborn children. That's what we've been facing. And now, to our absolute amazement and our wonder, it turns out that things didn't fall apart. The center did hold. And this rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches away from Bethlehem, back out into the darkness to die where it came from. We have beaten these people. We've beaten them, and they will not rise again. All of their weapons, all of their control over media, all of their control over everything is broken. It's finished. The tower is collapsing. They're struggling to get 20% support from the population. It is a miracle, and it's happened before our very eyes. I said the left doesn't believe in anything, and here's one of the things that the left does not believe in. They do not believe in the great man theory of history. The great man theory of history is very simple. It believes that history can be interrupted, changed, diverted, reversed even, by the arrival of an individual. Now, conservatives tend to fall in line with this theory because as conservatives, we are ultimately individualists. We believe that we have individual responsibilities, individual rights. The left can't tolerate this idea. The reason that the left doesn't believe in the great man theory of history is that the great man theory of history doesn't have enough room for things like bumper stickers and pride flags and, select committees and all the rest of those virtue signaling narcissistic traits that they're so fond of. But the great man theory of history is real. The left sees history as a sort of an irresistible force. It's like a powerful current. It's a giant river that's going in one direction, and it doesn't really matter who's on board or not. The left believes that history is an irresistible force that is immune to individual people. And when the irresistible force of the left's idea of history runs into the immovable object of a great man, the left doesn't know what to do. Now, Every American century has produced a great man. The 18th century produced George Washington. The 19th century produced Abraham Lincoln. The 20th century produced Ronald Reagan. The 21st century is still young, but there is a candidate on the board. The left look at people like our president and the people that support them, and they have the audacity to say that we are on the wrong side of history, as if history is immutable, as if history runs down a concrete channel without change. I'm a historian. I've done a number of historical series, and I can tell you one thing about history. History does not follow the bidding of a group of whiners, losers, and weenies. History does what history will do, regardless of what the left tells you it will do. There is no such thing as being on the right or wrong side of history, because history hasn't happened yet. And so here we are tonight, celebrating several great men and many great women as well. And first among them this evening, we're very proud to honor Robert Spencer, the physically and morally fearless director of Jihad Watch, with our American Freedom Award for his unwavering support for American freedom. Now, one of the great things about America, one of the core freedoms of America, is freedom of religion. And this is why Dr. Spencer's work is so important, and why we're so fortunate to have such a talented man in its place. Freedom of religion is important in America. There are scores, maybe hundreds, possibly thousands of religions in America. But there's only one religion in America. When practiced as written, is not only un-American, it is antithetical to American principles. You either can say what you want to about the prophet, or you can't. And one of these two systems is going to prevail. And it's not going to be that one. Secondly, this evening, we're also extremely grateful and honored to present Dr. John Eastman with an award that we created specially for him. It's called the Hineini Award, for his stand for the two fundamental pillars of our representative democracy. That would be legitimate, verifiable, honest elections, and the overall rule of law. Both of these are astonishing achievements. We're deeply, deeply honored to have you here this evening with us. Now, many of you know the American Freedom Alliance from before, and I'm just going to very briefly, for those of you who are near, just give you a quick reminder before we tuck in. What the American Freedom Alliance does is important on so many different ways, but essentially what it comes down to is this. It helps organize the visibility of the values that we take for granted and which are otherwise invisible. It helps bring invisible concepts to light. It makes them tangible. It makes them something we can do something about. We believe in the free exchange of ideas. AFA honors the proponents of free exchange of ideas. We believe in the defense of classical values. No one else out there is really talking about essence of Western classical civilization. Many people are talking politics. On many levels, the American Freedom Alliance talks about philosophy and morality. They are ferocious in their defense of our liberties. The AFA is recognizing of the heroes that are often shunned and silenced by the elites in our media system, which is also falling apart, by the way. The days of the mainstream media is no longer the mainstream media. They're the dinosaur media now. The mainstream media has gone a long way away. And I think probably most important, as we see tonight, the American Freedom Alliance is there to champion the good. Champion the good men, the good women, the good people who do this fight, often anonymously, always under tremendous personal and moral attacks, social attacks, desires to wreck their lives. They haven't succeeded, they won't succeed. And it's a pleasure to point out those people who have made a stand against that so-called tide of history which never existed in the first place, and who were there at the moment that the foundations of the Black Tower actually fell and crumbled into dust. So for now, please enjoy your dinner, and we'll be back just shortly after.